IVM.
Hi everybody, this is Amit Doshi and I have a request. We'd really appreciate it if you could go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and fill out our survey over there. It's going to take a few minutes to do, but it gives us some really interesting information that we can take to advertisers and brands about who's listening to the network. If you're comfortable giving us your email address, while you're filling out the survey, we'll enter you into a random drawing where we'll be sending out a bunch of IVM swag to some of our listeners. Last year we sent out coffee mugs, and this year we're hoping to send out much cooler stuff. That's ivmpodcast.com/survey. We really appreciate your help.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach Podcast, the bite-sized podcast filled with quick and easy actionable habits. Remember, great habits create that awesome life. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach. And today's fun fact of the day has to do with first impressions. Did you know that it takes 50 milliseconds for the first impression of someone to be formed? You have seen the person's face and have instantly jumped to your conclusions about that person. The next 3 seconds are used to make a deeper scan of that person and their attire, how they're dressed, body language, etc. And this first impression is originally a survival tool. We had to quickly understand a face and see if they were friends or foes, if we could lower our guard or if we needed to be alert. And this is why first impressions are so powerful. We jump to conclusions and then hold on to these conclusions for the rest of that interaction. But what is fascinating is that every time you meet the person, you create another first impression. Hence, it is true that first impressions can change over time. What is interesting is just as they are making a first impression of you, you too are making a first impression of them. And this is a side of the story that no one really talks about. This is because we are all so concerned about what people are judging us, what people are thinking about us. What will people think of me is the core thought. We actually have a self-centered approach to first impressions. We never really pause to realize that we too are making a whole bunch of first impressions about somebody else. Now, we know that first impressions are often wrong about us, right? So, could that mean that our first impressions are wrong about them too? Very often we look at a person and jump to a conclusion about that person. Automatically, we tailor our behavior towards that person. We change who we are, hoping that that other person can then relate with us better. In this whole process of them judging us and us judging them, we lose our authentic self. We instead put on masks. Masks we hope will create a connection with that person. Now, you have just met this person and you are instantly sizing up what their likes and what their dislikes are. You are basically attempting to read their mind. And this is where all the problems with social anxiety and meeting people start. We have predicted what that person must be thinking about us. Our mind will obviously jump to the negative first. Hence, it will first think of all the bad impressions you must have created, all the wrong judgments that that person must have made of you. And these thoughts then run through our heads like worms. The other day, I was presenting to a forum at the YPO. Now, the YPO is a very prestigious organization whose members are owners of very large companies or managing directors or CEOs. It is always a nerve-wracking experience presenting to members like that. And as soon as the Zoom meeting started, I looked at all those faces and all those faces looked back at me. And in an instant, I had made my first impression of them and then immediately started wondering about what they must be thinking of me. Should I change my behavior and the way I was talking? Do I have to be super serious? Or should I be my usual playful self? Should I talk slower? Should I talk faster? All these thoughts were debilitating. And this is the birth of social anxiety from first impressions. Instead, I paused and I said to myself, I don't know who they are and cannot rely on any of the judgments that I have made. Let me be myself. Let my true, authentic self shine through. Then let them make a conclusion for themselves. Some will like me, some won't, and that is okay. But those that do like me will like me for who I am. I genuinely believe that if we put our authentic selves forward, there is a greater chance of connecting with the other person. Instead, what we do is create our own layers. These layers are things we think the other person will like. And often we get that wrong. 6 years ago, I believed for someone to take me seriously, I had to walk around in a suit and a tie. And by the way, I love wearing suits and ties. However, once I learned this secret of letting your authentic self shine through, I could now create a deeper connection with whoever I was speaking to, because now I was coming and presenting myself as who I genuinely was. The reason being that there is an innocence and purity to your authentic self. This innocence is what people pick up on their first impressions and connect with. So your simple habit to improving your first impressions starts by catching yourself making first impressions about the others, then putting those impressions aside, and then letting your authentic self shine through. Now you might ask me, I don't know who my authentic self is. This is the self that exists without the conditioning of society, the person who you are when you are alone. And what is fascinating is just like first impressions, your authentic self changes with time. So start these habits and share with us your progress using the hashtag #TheHabitCoach. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome 180.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I wanted to kind of just give a quick reminder to everybody. As I mentioned up top, we are doing our annual listener survey right now. If you could please go and take a couple of minutes out of your day and fill it out, we would really, really appreciate it. It's ivmpodcast.com/survey. If you're comfortable giving us your email address, we'll enter you into a random drawing, and we're going to be sending out swag to a bunch of randomly selected listeners. So do definitely get on board that train. Let me tell you a little bit about what we did on the network this week. We launched a new show called Zindagi Diaries with Ragini Kumar. Many of you might have seen Ragini on television during the IPL. She's a presenter, but she's showing a different side of herself over here with a poetry podcast. Give it a shot, give it a listen. Let me know what you all think. Vishal Gondal is back this week after a while. He's been on an extended break, but he has Rahul Narvekar for the first episode. Really interesting conversation. Do check it out. Raji Samant joins Gauri Devidayal on This Round Is On Me, the two talk about the wine business and what's going on there. We had a number of conversations about the Farmers Bill and the surrounding agitation this week on the network as well. Maruk Inayat had a great episode on the note. Pulia Bazi did a deep dive into the issues around this. And on Siders, we have our typical, fun conversation about this stuff with a little bit of a seriousness, a little bit of fun. Do check that out on Cock and Bull on Thursday last week. Akash Mehta joined us for that episode. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Vaisa, the show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance, from stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Vaisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have.